The wind roars against the cliffside, tearing at his coat, pulling at every edge as if to test his resolve. Yet he stands alone, unmoving, the horizon stretched out before him like an unbroken oath. His eyes do not blink against the cold. They remain fixed, steady, as though he sees something far beyond the storm. What truly makes a man respected, desired not just in the eyes of women, but in the silent reflection that stares back at him in the mirror? Is it strength of body or strength of presence? Is it the power to conquer or the discipline to hold fast? Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "A man's worth is measured by the things he chooses to accept or to reject." In those few words lies a truth most men overlook. Your life is defined not by what you gain, but by what you refuse to surrender. Today, we will walk through 8 unshakable boundaries, not games, not tactics, but living principles. Boundaries that do more than attract. They preserve the very essence of who you are. Because a man who does not defend his frame will watch it be dismantled, piece by piece. Boundary 1. Time is not negotiable. An hourglass sits on the table, its narrow neck allowing each grain to fall in slow, deliberate silence. Watch it long enough, and you realize something both simple and terrifying. Once a grain drops, it never rises again. That is your life, that is your time. Memento mori, remember that you will die. Every moment is a vanishing asset, and no man who truly understands this will give it away lightly. Yet most men live as if their hours are endless, as if they can be summoned back at will. They answer every call immediately, rearrange their plans. At the slightest request, surrender their focus for the comfort of another's convenience. They think this is kindness, but it is only the quiet auction of their own soul sold to the highest bidder of distraction. A Stoic knows better. He guards his time as a warrior guards the last gate to his city. Not out of selfishness, but out of duty to himself, to his purpose, to the life he is building. When you make yourself endlessly available, you teach the world that your time has no value. When you hold it close, you teach that your presence must be earned. If you are learning to protect your hours like a soldier defends his borders, you have already stepped onto the right path. This is the true Stoic way. Boundary 2. No apology for living by your values. A door closes not with anger, not with noise, but with a quiet finality that leaves no question. The man on the other side does not feel the need to explain himself. He knows why he closed. That is enough. Epictetus once wrote, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." A man who lives by his values must be ready for misunderstanding. When you say no to an invitation that pulls you away from your purpose, when you decline to join a circle that does not align with your principles, some will call you arrogant, others will call you cold. But a Stoic calls it something else. Truth. That saying no is not an act of hostility. It is an act of self-respect. Every time you refuse what does not serve your higher purpose, you sharpen the edge of who you are. Every time you soften that no with endless explanations and apologies, you dull that edge. You begin to live not by your own compass, but by the shifting winds of other people's approval. A man who stands firm without guilt sends a message the world can feel without words. My values are not up for negotiation. If you've ever chosen your principles over the comfort of being liked, Leave the words "I stand firm" in the comments. The world should know you are still out there. Boundary 3. Name the disrespect. The words are small, tossed out like a joke in front of others, an offhand jab, a smirk disguised as humor. Most men would laugh it off or pretend not to notice, hoping to avoid tension. But you meet the eyes of the speaker, not with anger, not with wounded pride, but with a calm, sharpened stillness that cuts deeper than any raised voice could. Seneca once wrote, "He who tolerates injustice without protest is actually cooperating with it." The Stoic does not explode at every slight that would give the offender more power than they deserve, but neither does he allow disrespect to pass as if it were invisible. To do so is to train the world to believe your boundaries are merely decorative, not enforced. So when a line is crossed, speak plainly. I don't allow people to speak to me like that. No drama, no lecture, no rage. Just the kind of clarity that leaves no room for misunderstanding. That single sentence will do more for your respect than 1,000 attempts to please. Because silence can be golden, yes, but clarity is a diamond, unbreakable and unmistakable. If you believe that silence is sometimes gold, but clarity is always a diamond, subscribe to True Stoic Way, and let's stand together in keeping the frame unshakable. Boundary 4. Hold steady under the test. The sea is restless today. Waves hurl themselves against the stone, breaking into white foam and vanishing in seconds. The rock remains silent and unmoved as it has for centuries. That is how a Stoic meets the tests of life and the tests of people. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Many men fail because they mistake speed for strength. They hear a teasing remark, a challenge, a provocation, and they rush to defend themselves, to prove something, to win an argument. But the man who cannot be rattled does not need to win small battles. He wins simply by refusing to be moved. Woman, an adversary, the world itself. They will test your center long before they trust your depth. The one who passes is not the loudest in the room, but the one whose stillness cannot be cracked. A smirk, a measured word, a glance that says, "You don't shake me." These are worth more than any defense you could mount. A man who stands in his frame, no matter the storm, is a man who commands not just respect, but peace. And peace is the ultimate power. A man who cannot be moved by trials is a man who holds his destiny. If you are becoming that man, this is your community, True Stoic Way. Boundary 5. The power of few words. A single stroke from a sharp blade is enough. It does not hack, it does not flail, it cuts once, clean, and the matter is settled. Words can be the same. Epictetus advised, "Let silence be your answer to the meaningless." In a world where most men exhaust themselves trying to be understood, the Stoic understands something far greater. The fewer your words, the more weight they carry. A long explanation smells of uncertainty. A short, precise statement rings with authority. When you speak, let each word be deliberate. Not because you fear wasting breath, but because you refuse to waste meaning. Say what must be said, and then let the silence stand guard over it. The man who can leave a thought unsaid when others beg him to fill the air is the man who has mastered not just his tongue, but himself. The world will press you to elaborate, to justify, to soften, resist. Let your restraint become your signature. The fewer times you speak, the more the world leans forward when you do. If you have ever felt the raw strength of silence, leave the words "silent power" in the comments, so others can learn what you already know. Boundary 6, mission above all. The ship's ropes strain as the tide pulls it outward. On the dock, someone calls your name, reaching out, asking you to stay. But the sails are already set, the wind is already in your favor, and the course has been chosen. You do not abandon the voyage, not for comfort, not for approval, not even for love. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Love the fate that has been given to you. That is your path. Your mission is not a hobby. It is the compass that orients your life, the anchor that keeps you steady when storms rise. A woman may walk beside you, share your victories, and rest with you at harbor, but she can never replace the mission itself. To let her do so is to drift without direction, and no amount of affection can fill that void. The truth is, most men surrender their purpose the moment they feel the warmth of another's presence. At first, she may welcome the attention, but soon, she feels the subtle loss of gravity, the weakening of the man she was drawn to. The polarity fades. A man with a mission moves like the earth itself, steady, inevitable, unyielding. People orbit around him, not the other way around. We share these principles for men who live for something greater than themselves. If that is you, then walk with us, True Stoic Way. Boundary 7. Do not fix another's emotions. The storm is loud tonight, lightning splitting the sky, wind tearing at the walls, rain pounding the earth. Inside, you sit still, the weight of your presence holding the space steady. You do not try to stop the storm. You simply remain. Seneca once wrote, "Be a refuge, not a carpenter of other people's minds." Most men, when faced with someone's emotional tempest, especially a woman they care for, rush to repair, to offer solutions, to speak words meant to make it all disappear. But the Stoic knows that emotions are not problems to be fixed. They are weather to be endured. Your role is not to hammer her feelings into a shape you find acceptable, but to be the ground she can stand on while they pass. You listen, you breathe, you stay. The calm you carry is worth more than any advice you could give. A man who can hold space without flinching becomes a harbor in a chaotic sea, and a harbor does not apologize for the storm. It simply receives the ship until the waters are calm again. If you believe a man doesn't need every answer, only the strength of presence, hit like on this video. Boundary 8. Keep part of yourself unrevealed. On the table lies a book, its cover worn, its spine strong. It is open, but not fully. A few pages are visible, enough to invite the reader in. Yet the rest remains closed, guarded, waiting for the right moment. Epictetus taught, "Not everyone is worthy of knowing your story." In a time when men pour out their histories in the first hours of meeting someone, confessing their past, unveiling their fears, handing over their lives, mapped to those who have not earned it, the Stoic chooses a different way. He reveals with intention, not desperation. Mystery is not deception. It is the art of unfolding at a pace that honors both yourself and the listener. It creates a gravity that draws others in, because they sense there is more depth, more history, more soul than what has yet been shared. To give it all too soon is to spend your wealth before the value is understood. To hold back, not out of fear but out of respect for your own story, is to keep your worth intact. If you see yourself in these principles, do not let this be the last time we meet. Join True Stoic Way, where we do not just speak of discipline and respect, we live them every day. Conclusion: the Stoic Declaration, 8 boundaries. 8 lines in the sand that no storm, no seduction, no pressure should ever erase. Guard your time. Stand by your values without apology. Call out disrespect. Hold steady under the test. Speak with precision. Keep your mission above all. Be the harbor, not the repairman. And never give away your whole story before it is earned. This is not just about attraction, it is about identity. The man who sets the standard and protects his frame does not wait for respect. He commands it by the way he lives. If these principles resonate with you, you are not alone. Join True Stoic Way, a brotherhood of men who refuse to drift, who live with discipline, presence, and purpose. Set the standard, protect your frame, and let the world adjust to you.